Yes, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've given notice of the following private question addressed to the Honourable Minister of Housing and Lands, whether in regard to the islets around Mauritius, he will state A, the names of the lessees thereof, indicating the 1, duration and purpose of the leases, and 2, yearly fees payable therefore, and B, if government intends to set up a legal framework to regulate the activities of operators thereon. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes, Honourable Minister of Housing.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to say thank you to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition for this question, which gives me an opportunity to give certain information that I deem vital for not only for the House but also for members, for the members of the public outside. Madam Speaker, I am informed there are 54 islets around Mauritius, out of which 51 are fully owned by the state. 1, îlots, is partly held by the state and is partly freehold, and 2 are privately owned, îlots and îlots. Out of the 52 state-owned islets, 22 are leased, including îlots, 8 are national parks, and 7 are nature reserves under the control of the Ministry of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy, and Fisheries. Île de la Passe is a national heritage site, Îlot Matapan is a public beach, and Îlot Bernache is vested jointly in the Ministry of Environment and the Police Department, even though it has not been actually implemented, but there was a decision to that effect. The remaining 12 islets are under the control of my ministry. I am, Madam Speaker, tabling the information requested in Part A of the question. Madam Speaker, with regards to Part B of the question, there is a pressing need indeed for the government to establish an institutional framework together with an islet management plan to regulate the critical need to ensure the sustainable use of these fragile ecosystems while balancing environmental protection with economic interests, particularly in the tourism and leisure sectors. Îlot Bénitier, for example, will indeed be used as a template for this initiative. Over the past years, the islet has witnessed an increase in unregulated commercial activities, including informal food and beverage operations, unauthorized recreational setups, and structures that are inconsistent with land use and environmental planning principles. These activities have raised concerns regarding sanitation, waste management, environmental degradation, and the preservation of public access and cultural value. Madam Speaker, further to site visits effected there and ongoing cleaning activities being undertaken, just rapidly, as at date, 138.8 tons of waste have been removed from Îlot Bénitier. The management template, Madam Speaker, will be replicated to other islets around Mauritius. The aim is to promote a balanced approach that encourages responsible tourism and economic opportunities while preserving the national heritage of our coastal and marine assets. My ministry stands ready to support the development and implementation of this framework in collaboration with relevant stakeholders, including the Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agro-Industry, Food Security, Blue Economy and Fisheries, it's a long name, and the Ministry of Tourism and Ministry of Local Government. And obviously all those who are ready to contribute positively and give us a helping hand in this matter and the population at large. This is my answer, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister. Yes, Leader, your supplementary question.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Since the Honourable Minister in his reply, he made mention of a template for l'îlot Bénitier. Understand this will be a master plan replicated for other islets at a later stage. Can we know from the Honourable Minister where matters are with regard to the preparation of that master plan and what is the time frame?
With regards to the master plan, the situation is as follows. This matter has been raised at cabinet level. An inter-ministerial committee has been set up, which is chaired by myself, that includes several other ministries, the Ministry of Agro-Industry, Tourism, Environment, and we have technicians who are also meeting in order to come up with the plan, which is precisely the management plan. And that management plan eventually will have to be brought to cabinet for government to take a decision as to what shape the plan will take. Obviously, there are various options that will be placed before cabinet, and it will be for cabinet to decide. Now, as regards the time frame, I can also add that there has been a lot of other meetings chaired by the Deputy Prime Minister in order to assist and help bring all other stakeholders on board. They have had meetings also with les plaisanciers that the Deputy Prime Minister has met in order to try to take on board their views. And all those issues, as we talked about the balancing exercise between the economic reality as well as the environmental situation, all this is being taken into account, and obviously we'll let the technicians come up with a proper management plan before we are to apprise cabinet of same. Thank you.
Yes. May I ask the Honourable Minister whether that master plan will also take into consideration and assess the potential development, for example, hotel development or commercial development on the islets? On the islet, sorry.
Yes, Minister.
Let me straightforward say one thing. I mean, let me, for example, take the situation of îlot Bénitier, and it's an opportunity to explain. You see, there have been a lot of attempts made in the past in order to come up with a proper management plan. But those have been only attempts, and it has taken political courage in order to start by implementing, by cleaning up one island, and then we are going to follow up onto other islets. Now, with regards to the development of islets, the Honourable Leader of the Opposition should be aware, while he himself was in government, there has been a change in the law that calls now those islets around Mauritius, by the way, which does not even have a proper definition in our statute, what are islets? Okay. And this has to be looked into as well as part of the management plan. We have to have a legal definition of what is an islet. So while he was himself in government, and I don't mean any wrong or attacking answer, no conflict at this stage, it is that simply at this stage, at this juncture, it is simply that all those islets have been declared to be now in an environment-sensitive area. And as an environment-sensitive area, the whole idea is that hotels or resorts cannot and should not be built on islets, because our aim and the aim of all responsible government is precisely to protect all those islets. Obviously, there are certain islets that are already leased for 60 years, as he well knows. So on those islets, there are tourism activities because the purpose for which they were leased, it's provided for there. So the less development in line with the Environment Protection Act is what we are going to favor. So as far as Bénitier is concerned, let me put it very clear. We cannot entertain the construction of resorts or hotels on îlot Bénitier. It has to be returned to nature.
That seems quite complete. Do you want
Yes, of course.
one more?
Yeah, can we know the status of l'îlot Bénitier? Whether there is a lease with regard to îlot Bénitier? I understand that some time ago, that is around year 2009, there were 2 letters of intent that were issued to a company by the name of Suleiman Nabibakar's Company Limited, one for the development of a hotel on the islet, and second, for a plot of land of an extent of 2 arpents and 90 perches on pas géométrique Grande Case Noyale to serve as a land base for the hotel project. Have those letters been cancelled by the ministry?
let me inform the Minister. I'm a bit surprised because
The Leader of the Opposition.
the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, because he was then Minister in government that issued a letter of, there was a letter of intent that was issued to Nabi Bakas. No, I have the exact dates. You see, as far as the dates are concerned, I have here, there we go. And there were dates here in 2017. A meeting was chaired by the Honourable ex-Vice Prime Minister. On the 11th of October 2017, Minister of Tourism was requested to chair technical committee on îlots to come up with proposals regarding the potential use of the island. On the 29th of November 2017, the Ministry of Tourism submitted a report, and first option was to lease the whole islet to the Société, Nabi Bakas, and the second option was to demarcate the island in three parts, namely recreation, hotel development, and conservation. So what happened is that in light of this letter of intent that existed, there have been several letters, and it was for agriculturalists, coconuts. Okay, but as far as all those letters of intent there have been in history, for the past 10 years, the previous government that the Honourable Leader of the Opposition formed part of let it lie and did not do anything about it and let the situation rot. And it is precisely, and I don't mean it as any criticism, even though it's just factual. They've done nothing with regards to this letter of intent. They've let it rot, and this situation has been encouraged by leniency, the inability of the previous government to take any decision with regards to islet management, and in particular, l'îlot bénitier. And what did we see in return? 138 tons of debris is now being, as a date, removed from that island. But imagine how did it accumulate over all those years? Can you imagine, Madam Speaker? And what is unfortunate is that people were building concrete structures, toilets, with ceramic toilets all installed on concrete, au vu et au su des autorités à l'époque où le chef de l'opposition d'aujourd'hui était ministre, et ça se passait comme si de rien n'était. So this inability to see, or this voluntary refusal to take note, led to this situation today. But then again, I'm sure I can count on the goodwill of the people of Mauritius, including the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, to see and to take note that what we're doing now is indeed proper governance and proper governmental action.
Thank you. One more bite.
Yes, may I request the Minister to clarify something? Do we understand that that company still has an agricultural lease on that islet?
The answer is no. There is no agricultural lease on the islet. There is no lease agreement that was issued. No, precisely because this company had been writing time and time again to the previous government and asking the government to act. So instead of renewing or giving them a proper lease for that particular coconut plantation or even any development whatsoever, we end up with leniency, totally sleeping on the file. But other people close to government were allowed to just go there and do as though it was their private property. Mauritians trading honestly, and whom we intend to put in a better situation now, were themselves sometimes asked to leave by those qui déclarent la case pas vous autres. So they were pretending that it was theirs when it was not theirs. So right now, we have also had situations, allow me to say that, because I've been reading press reports while the good leader of the opposition was then minister of that government, where drugs were found on the island in Bénitier. Under the sand, stashed away. Police have found all this. So this is precisely what we're tackling. So if you want the proof that we are really implementing and taking bold decisions, there you have it.
Thank you. Another one?
Yes, I've got so many, Madam Speaker. This is an important subject.
Yeah.
Can the Minister inform the House whether the decision to remove the operators on the islet was a collective decision by Cabinet?
Answer, yes. I have the full support of Cabinet, full support of government, and let me underline, full support of the Prime Minister and full support of the Deputy Prime Minister. I'm supported, or I'm sure I have your support as well.
So long as you do things correctly, you'll have my support. Madam Speaker, Cabinet has decided to authorize some 50 operators to carry out their commercial activities on the islet once cleaning is completed. Can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether his ministry has carried out a survey to assess the number of persons on the islet, knowing that all operators do not have structures on the islet? There are also some other operators.
Let me say for one thing, at this particular juncture, no decision has been taken by Cabinet. However, no Cabinet decision has been taken as regards structures. However,
No, about
management
that
plan has to
particular
come
issue.
first.
One
Now,
moment, Minister.
let me explain. There is a survey that has been carried out, joint interministerially. We are carrying out surveys. Then there have been meetings between the operators on the island with the Deputy Prime Minister, and they have given us lists of those who are operating there. So obviously, this is an ongoing process where we have to find out who was operating, what were they operating in, what were they exactly doing. As I've said earlier on, we are cleaning up the place, and it is coming to be returned to nature, beautiful as we speak, because compared to what it was when they were in power. So now, when those operators are going to be allowed there, we're going to give them proper structures. They're going to, what we intend to aim for is them recognized as proper traders, lawfully trading in a place. And what we also, allow me to say that, want to do is that a majority of the island, at least 2/3, this is the plan, and obviously Cabinet has to approve, but the plan and the object here is to return the majority of the island to nature, protected as an environment protected area. And my good friend, the Minister of Agro-Industry, he has experts within his ministry to deal with this. So the Ministry of Environment also is giving a helping hand as a transition period when the management plan is getting ready. So we have taken everyone on board.
Thank you. Yes.
May I refer the Honourable Minister to a Cabinet decision which was taken some 1 week ago, whereby it is stated that some 50 operators would thereafter be authorized to carry out their activities anew on the islet without erecting any permanent structure. There is a Cabinet
That is the
decision.
transitional period that the good Honourable Leader of the Opposition is referring to. That's the transition period. Okay, during that transition period, obviously, we will have to allow people, well, I'm not talking about when the final plan comes up, this is different, there were going to be structures then. In the meantime, the Ministry of Environment is going to be responsible for the management of the island, the cleaning up as well. There are going to be operators who will be allowed to go there, but without erecting permanent structures, as the Cabinet decision says. And what happens is that once they've already worked during the day, they will be obliged to leave with their structures. We have to keep the island clean for the present and future generation.
May I ask the Honourable Minister whether there was some form of consultation with the operators on the islet before stopping the activities and pulling down the structures?
He said,
we
have
have-
already said this.
We have given notice. We have given notice in line with the law, and we did not stick to the minimum delay. We gave more delay than that. And I can assure you as well is that when it was removed, it was ample delay was given, obviously because there were unlawful structures. A decision had to be taken, and a decision was taken, and I am happy that this decision was taken. Now, as far as consultations are concerned, as I've said in my answer earlier on, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister has had meetings, and I thank him for that with the operators, and we have worked together in order to be able to find solutions where we put the operators in a better situation.
Thank you.
With regard to ongoing cleaning works on the islet, Madam Speaker, can the Honourable Minister inform the House whether operators requested to participate in the cleaning up of the islet, and this was turned down by the minister?
Yes, it is something that I thought it would not be appropriate for operators to clean up, because I was advised, and I'll explain my advice, when it was cleaned up, 138 tons, okay? Imagine a scenario where operators go to help in order to clean up, and I thank them for their goodwill. Imagine a situation where this is an operation led by the Ministry of Housing and Land, since we're custodian of that islet. Imagine someone gets hurt. Who would be responsible? So obviously there are legal impediments. Now morally, it's a beautiful story. Everyone wants to help. But we have to ensure that we respect the law, and that if ever there is anyone who gets injured, that there needs to be responsibility. Here, now we have a proper company that has gone through the process. He has been chosen to clean up. Now, if there is any issue, there is an insurance. So we are covered. This is a simple law which is called the Occupation Safety and Health Issue. So that's all.
Yes.
Yes, Madam Speaker, the press made reference to a meeting between the operators on the islet and the Deputy Prime Minister. Can I know from the Minister, Honourable Minister, whether he was present in that meeting?
No, I was not present at that meeting. However, before going to the meeting, I was informed by the Deputy Prime Minister that there would be such a meeting. As I've said, the Honourable Deputy Prime Minister has been helping out in a big way with regards to bringing out all ministries and operators together in order to facilitate the process. So that the Deputy Prime Minister, number 2 of government, was there, I'm even happy.
I understand that during that meeting, the issue of loss of revenue by the operators was raised. Can the Honourable Prime Minister inform the House whether government is giving due...
I think you mean the minister.
Yes, I mean,
You
yes.
still mean the minister.
I'm asking the Honourable Minister whether government will give due consideration to that request.
You see, I understand the question of the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, and I'm not going to demarcate from what I'm always used to saying, which is very straight answers. Unfortunately, when I hear an answer like that, I call that demagogy. You see, he basically is trying to say that when they were in government, when they were kicking people out, literally kicking people out from plots of land, the then Minister of Housing and Land was giving them compensation. I know people who are waiting for compensation for the past 10 years who were not even entertained. Obviously, our aim here is to put the operators in a better situation. They were not in a good situation. Members of the public were not in a good situation when going onto the island. There were no proper facilities. And therefore, we want to put them in a better situation. And that they are recognized lawful operators. They were not lawful operators, and obviously we cannot give compensation or even consider that element if they are unlawful operators. So we have to be responsible about it, Madam Speaker, and I hope that maybe, if he couldn't do it when he was minister in the previous government, let him start doing so now.
Yeah, all right.
My question is simple, Madam Speaker. Some of those families depend solely on those activities. Will government consider giving them some sort of support? That's what I'm asking.
Madam Speaker, I thought I was very clear on this matter. Now, where does the buck stop? Where do we draw the line? Now, everyone can... Then where do we draw the line? I mean, I hear we're not going to pass value judgment on what happened in the past. I recognize, government recognizes that those people are hard-working citizens. Unfortunately, there was no proper structure, regulation, in order to regulate this. Even islets, as I said, is not defined. We are putting things right because we are looking forward. This is what we have to do. Put them in a better position by looking forward.
Okay. Honourable Whip.
Yes, thank you. Madam Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Minister, given that has a survey been undertaken prior to blocking access to the operators? If so, how many operators have been identified as earning a living from îlots bénitiers? And given that the blockage has happened in peak season and that they are now left to fend for themselves without being able to operate, and given that there is no legal impediment for exploitation of the islets today, even that there's no concession, why is it then, how will the minister then, again, compensate those, how many operators you will tell us
It's the same
for,
question.
for the last...
You repeat, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
will you please sit down while I'm speaking? You're putting the same question again. Minister, do you want to answer again? Yes?
May I
Yes.
rephrase it? Depending on your answer on the number of operators, if it is more than 50, which you intend on allowing to operate in the future, how will you compensate those other operators that will not be able to fall within the 50? Can you tell us how many there are, and what about the other ones then?
Okay, that is an opportunity to go even further. Let me explain. Number one, there is no issue of compensation.
Fini.
Simple. Let's put it a stop to this whole idea of trying to score cheap political points by talking about it. Please, hold. Now, that they have nothing else to hold on to, I understand. But let's be responsible and reasonable. So now the other issue is how many operators will come there. Now, the operators, they themselves, have met with the Deputy Prime Minister and have met with ministers and have... It was done in parallel. And obviously, 50 or so operators were given, the names were given, and this is not emanating from government, this emanates from the operators themselves. So now there's the exercise by technicians to find out how we could accommodate those 50 environmentally in a sound manner for it not to damage the island. Second issue which we also have to look into is how to have access to the island. The honourable member would know, Madam Speaker, that all the sand around the island does not have any coral anymore. It's all destroyed because all boats come towards the shore, onto the beach. All those issues have to be taken into consideration in order to have a proper protection of these zones around the islands. So as far as the number of operators are concerned, or even the number of visitors that will be allowed to visit on a daily basis, we shall take good note of how other islets are managed in other jurisdictions, for example, Philippines or Thailand, how they put up proper structures to manage islets, not in a way to go for cheap political points, but for generations to come.
Last question. Then Leader of the Opposition, I'm sorry. It's his question. Question time.
Madame la Présidente, le constat général, c'est une situation de poids et de mesure. My question is, what will government do to rectify that, Madam Speaker?
Minister, we got few minutes left.
Yes, 2 minutes. Let me very quick. For 10 years, they've done nothing. Worse than nothing. I totally agree. They've done worse than that. So, for one thing, we are going to ensure that it is not an open place for people to go in close to the previous regime and stuff drugs under the sand. One, we are working closely. The Prime Minister has been briefing me and working closely with the Commissioner of Police to ensure that those islets around Mauritius are not used for drug trafficking and for any other illicit business. This is what we're doing. What we are doing as well is not only encouraging those who are the exclusive few known to certain ministers and high quarters to be allowed access to those islands. What we are doing is protecting the environment because we recognize the importance of leaving pour postérité, pour les générations futures, the islets in a proper state than it is today, in a better state tomorrow, but we are also balancing it with operators. Mauritius is important, not kitchen politics like they do.